Hi guys, welcome back. Today I'm going to be making another how-to video, how I did something kind of video. My last video was like a story kind of type of thing. The video is going to be more about how I moved out at 18 from my mom's house. And so I'm going to give you like a little backstory, how I did it, why I did it, and then I'm going to also include like tips and tricks that helped me, and then that maybe they could help you too. So it all started when I was actually living in the Bay. I grew up and I was born in the Bay Area, so I was there and I was dating a girl that I was with for like a really long time. Me and her, we were like inseparable. We didn't want to leave each other, and so basically my mom up and left to Idaho because she went to go take out my grandpa. I, freaked out. I didn't want to go, so I stayed with my girlfriend and lived with her and her mom. But I moved to Idaho, and then my girlfriend comes with me, and then the relationship is like super duper toxic. I'm just like, okay, when I turn 18 and when I graduate, I'm leaving. Like, I'm not trying to stay here in this like weird ass place with my girlfriend who I don't really like anymore, because me and her are just like so mean to each other. So we just were like, okay, we're just gonna move back. And she didn't really know at the time that I wasn't really planning to stay with her, but we just packed my little 98 Corolla, and literally my cat was in the car. It was so kind of ratchet, but we drove like a 15-hour drive. We stayed at her mom's house, her new place that she had, and it was really small. Like, there was like a bed in the living room that she let us sleep in, and so I like left some of my clothes in the closet, and then I would go out a lot and do my own thing because I was like, dude, I don't want to be with you anymore. Like, this is not healthy, so I started doing my own thing. Maybe I shouldn't have went about it the way I did, but I just was like going out, partying all the time, getting drunk with friends, and then she was doing her own thing. And so I ended up enrolling into the local college in my area pretty quickly. I came during summertime, so I had like a lot of time to like kind of figure out my stuff. Filled out FAFSA. I got on top of that pretty quickly. Like, even when I was back in Idaho, that's like number one. If you qualify for FAFSA, definitely apply for it ASAP. As soon as you can, apply for that, because that will help you so much. When I got my FAFSA, I got $6,000 in grant money alone. That's just like free money that they give you, basically. That's not even a loan. That's literally your money, and they give it to you for going to school. That's supposed to cover like your travel expenses, living expenses, food, whatever. I was going to campus a lot when I first started, because I was like talking with FAFSA, trying to work some stuff out, like how can I get the most money, when am I gonna get this money, because I literally had no money to my name, guys, like nothing. I had nothing. So I was pretty much on top of that, and then I was applying for jobs. I think I was still working at Michael's at that time, so that was like kind of helping me a little bit, but it was nothing. I think I was getting like $10 an hour. I got my stuff with FAFSA together, and then I got enrolled into EOPS, which is like another program for low income people. And just like a side note, low income help, like FAFSA help, depends on your parents' like salary. The IRS sends parents like previous year income, basically, and then that's how you know if you qualify or not. Even if you're moved out and you are your own person, that's like the one downfall of it, is because they don't care. They won't consider you like your own independent person until you're like, I think 25. That's when they stop depending on your parents' income, which is like ridiculous. But requirements to go based on your actual income is like really high. Like, you have to like basically be homeless. Yeah, you have to basically be like on the street, have been like in a shelter. I think they make you like prove that too. So just know that you would have to go based on your parents' income if you wanted to qualify for that. Or you can try to apply for the loan. Just literally go to your FAFSA department in your school and ask about it, and it's not really that hard of a process. That's what I did too. I also got loans, fill out a form, and get like your classes in order and stuff, talk with a counselor. It's like some steps, but it's not ridiculously hard. Like I feel like anybody can do it. So if you struggle with income, definitely get on top of that until you get on top of your feet with like a job. Which brings me to my next step. I ended up door dashing, which is like, door dashing came out like kind of right when I moved back. So it was like a big thing, and they would like guarantee you like $25 an hour sometimes, and then you would get hella tips. So it was like really easy money, and they didn't take taxes out of it either. So at that time, I would have like a paycheck every week, and I could just work whenever I needed money. So it was super duper helpful. I don't know how it is now, but you can DoorDash as long as you have a car. Doesn't matter if it's like ugly, old, doesn't matter. It's not Ubering. So as long as you have a car and it gets you places. Basically, if you're gonna do something like what I did, which is DoorDash, you're gonna have to be prepared to do those taxes at the end of the year. And this goes for any job. Always be prepared to do your taxes. Don't leave it off. Think like you didn't make enough. Always do your taxes, because that shit will bite you in the ass. Like 5 years later, a year later, 10 years later, doesn't matter. They will come for you, and they will come hard. Just always make sure to do your taxes, because it's not worth the trouble. It's not worth potentially getting in trouble. If you do the 1099 kind of jobs like how DoorDash is, always save like 20 to 30% of your checks, so you can be prepared to pay your back taxes back at the end of the year. With that said, always keep track of your receipts as well. There's this app called QuickBooks that you can organize all your receipts, so when tax season does come around, you can write off all those expenses. And there's standard deductions and stuff like that. I can't get too much into it because it's really complicated, but just be aware that there's stuff you can do to get either a maximum refund or not that much. So just keep that in mind as well. So flash forward a little bit. I'm like tired of having my old little 98 Corolla. I think I actually I crashed that one, and then I got another janky car, which my grandpa helped me pay for. But if you don't have a car, I would definitely recommend using some of your FAFSA money to get one if you can qualify for FAFSA. If you don't, then just kind of try to save up, because there's a lot of cheap cars out there, and most of them will run fine. I just always suggest bringing someone who knows about cars to look at it with you, to make sure you're not getting like scammed or ripped off. Or even if you go to O'Reilly's or AutoZone, they will connect a scanner to the car and see if there's anything wrong with it, and that's totally free. So always do that. If you're on your own and you need like a car and you're buying something off of someone, always check it out like that, because it will help you a lot understanding if there's anything wrong with the car. That brings me to my next point. When I was couch hopping from like my friend's house to my ex-girlfriend's house, I was keeping all my stuff in my car. Like I had a guitar in my trunk, like clothes in my trunk, I was taking showers at random friends' houses, sleeping over random friends' houses. It was like a mess, and I was just like struggling to find someone who would let me stay there, which that person ended up being my mom's old friend. Kind of grew up with her kids, so she took me in. She charged me like $200 a week for rent, which is really cheap in California. And so I stayed in her daughter's room. Her daughter was there like sometimes, so it wasn't like too crazy, and me and her daughter got along at that time, so it was cool. I ended up working at her job. Like the lady who I was living with, I ended up working at her job because she needed extra help. It was like an office position for like a glass business, which is where I met my baby dad. And me and him, we hit it off like really fast. And he had his like ex still like kind of in the picture, and I was doing my own thing, so it wasn't like really start off like at a good point. But we kept just like attracting to each other. It was like so weird and unexpected, but we were together like all the time. And then I got kind of tired of him like playing with me a little bit with his ex, so I cut him off. Like I blocked him on everything. I was like, bye, do your own thing, I'm gonna do my own thing, and I don't give a fuck about you anymore. And I stopped working there. And when I stopped working there, I actually had like a little falling out with the daughter who I was staying in her room. And I was like, fuck, I don't want to stay here anymore. I kept staying at friends' houses again. And then I reached out to my cousin and asked him if I can stay with him, which was super amazing because he actually let me stay on his couch. I kept like all of my stuff in his garage, and it was awesome because I felt comfortable there. You know, I did favors for them. Nothing crazy, but you know, like I would help them with their son, little things like that, and it was great. I had absolutely no problems living there. It was a really comfortable place to live in, so I was happy with that. Kept going to school, and then I got a job at the coffee shop at my school, which is totally awesome because working on campus is so convenient. You can literally go to class, go to work, and go to class, go to work, and you know, it's super chill. I love the environment there. Like I love seeing students all the time and like not dealing with like people in retail like how I was with Michael. So like things were getting better. And with that said, after I had cut Antonio off, he reached out to me, and you know, I was kind of cold to him. I was standoffish. I wasn't like trying to get back with him. I was trying to like get over him and like, you know, focus on my own thing. But I ended up getting back with him, and he promised me he was done playing and whatever. And I mean, he was for the most part. I mean, we fought and stuff like in the beginning, but at the end of the day, like we ended up working everything. So when we got back together, we moved into an apartment together in a city in the Bay Area, which his mom helped us with. And you know, it was totally awesome. I was like, this is finally like settling in for me, that I'm like in a good, comfortable place in my life on my own. Like all that stuff I went through getting back to California by myself was all worth it, because now I have my own room and my own vanity desk and my own closet, and you know, it was awesome. I was so happy, even if me and him were fighting a lot during those times, like those transitions, because it's so hard living with your partner. It was still like a big step in my life. I ended up taking up another job, which was waitressing, and waitressing was probably like my favorite, you know, normal job, because you know, you get hella tips and it's fun. It's usually fun to work in a restaurant. I loved doing that, and then I loved working also at the coffee shop and just having like two sources of income. Kind of during that same time is when I thought about building my credit and getting a better car. And then when I got the idea, I went to a dealership and looked at cars, and you know, I found one that was like not too expensive and not too crazy. I think it was like 11,000 Nissan Versa. It was like a 2015, and I was gonna get a loan from them, but then I learned that that's not a good idea, because their bank will charge you like 20% interest, and it's better to just go to a credit union. And I ended up getting just like an 8% interest loan from Provident Credit Union, which is the one I still bank with, and they were awesome. They didn't care that I didn't have any credit. They knew I was a student, and you know, a lot of credit unions want to help students, like especially with auto loans. Like they want to help you build your credit, so they will most likely give you a loan for that, especially if you have a cosigner. But in my case, I got lucky. I didn't have a cosigner. I didn't need one. I got approved. I seeked out insurance, which if you do get a car from a dealership, you're going to need full coverage insurance. So shop around for different quotes, because a lot of insurance companies have discounts and special rates. So like always call around different places and always ask about rates they have and what kind of discounts, because those will add up. And like you'll call one place and it'll be like $180 a month, and then you'll call another place and it'll be $120 a month. So always just do your research before you lock in with a certain insurance company. And also don't go through a brokerage, because they will charge you like a $200 fee just to connect you with an insurance company when you can do that yourself. So I got that loan from Provident. I'm still paying it to this day. I've never missed a payment. So my credit score got really, really good. And then I started opening up credit cards, which is another good thing because when you open credit card, you build up your credit faster. And also you'll have a credit card just in case you need one for emergencies. But the thing with credit cards is you're gonna wanna like look into the details of each credit card. For me, I really like Capital One, and Discover has like good student cards too. Capital One and Discover, they both have really good ones. But you can also check with the credit union that you might have gotten a loan from for your car. You can even check with them if you don't have a loan for a car. You do some research first about the credit unions in your area and see which ones have good cards, because a lot of them will have student credit cards, which you are more likely to get accepted with, or they'll have like secured cards, which is like you put money down, so you're more likely to get accepted for that card. Then you start building credit. So either build a credit with like a auto loan or build a credit with a credit card, whether it be secured or unsecured. You know, there's so many ways, but make sure you get on top of that ASAP, because the longer your credit like history is, the better things will be for you in your future, like when you want to buy a house or when you want to get a loan or something like that. Because there's people I know who are like 27, even 30, that they don't have any credit, and that's like the worst thing, because credit saves your ass. Or rent an apartment, you know, stuff like that. So school, FAFSA, utilizing your resources with school, you know, go to counseling and stuff to figure out what your major is, what classes you need to take to graduate on time. That's like a big thing, because that can be really overwhelming, especially when you have no idea what you want to do. And if you don't, that's fine. You can just take the general ed courses and sit with a counselor and tell them what classes can I take that will go to like whatever major you end up choosing, and get those out of the way so you have time to feel out the classes and then decide what you want to major in. And then for me, that was English, because I love to write and I want to end up teaching college courses, like community college courses. So I found that pretty quickly, and that's kind of why I graduated kind of quickly. In regards to like credit stuff, if you ever find yourself like in a delinquent account because you forgot to make a payment, which they don't send you to like collections usually till like 60 days after you miss a payment, but it's best to just make your payment on time, even if it's a minimum payment, because you'll most likely get a credit line increase. Like for me, I went from 300 to like 2,500. Now I kind of spent a lot of my credit cards when I was pregnant, so my credit score went down a lot. So you're gonna want to like keep your credit card balance really low to keep your credit up, and then not worry about like having to pay interest to those credit cards, because that will add up a lot over time. Just make your payments on time. If you do find yourself in a delinquency or discrepancy, call the creditor company and request a delete. And by that I mean whoever has the collections on of your credit report upon payment, so then you can feel better that it won't be on your report for so long, because most places they just want money and they're not going to let you know that that's a possibility. But it definitely is. You just have to be on top of that stuff and stand your ground, because they're going to want to, you know, trick you into paying too much too quickly, or, you know, threaten you with stuff. And honestly, you can't get too fucked over with stuff like that unless it's like with traffic tickets or like court fines, or you know, you owe the IRS. That those are the things that will mess you up. So just always be on top of those things. Don't just like put it to the side and be like, oh, just deal with it later. Deal with it right away, and then investigate anything that has to do to your problem. Don't just like, oh, I don't know, I'm just gonna like sit here and, you know, hope that it works out. Because for me, when I moved out, I had a shit ton of problems thrown my way, like court stuff, because I got in trouble a few times, and I had to like work that stuff out and, you know, present myself well and make my court appearances and do stuff that I thought would look good in the eyes of the court. And, you know, I had to write creditors letters sometimes when there was miscommunications, you know, stuff like that. I just always stayed on top of my stuff, so that I would avoid problems. Always organize your stuff that has to do with, you know, adulting, and make sure that you don't just put it off because you don't understand it. I want to talk about how to be successful quicker, and that is, don't have unhealthy relationships. Don't have toxic friendships that are gonna distract you. Put your money and your goals first, always. For me, I kind of dedicated myself way too much to a relationship, and I probably could have been further in my financial situation if I didn't invest myself so much in someone, or invest myself so much in a person, and just paid attention to myself, you know? I feel like I could have avoided a lot of setbacks, which is why I graduated a year later, because I was so all over the place, and I didn't have my priorities straight. So I dropped classes too much, I missed a lot of classes, and then it just set me back a whole year. And it's just best to go in it alone, essentially, because that's gonna be your biggest motivator and your biggest strong suit. On top of that, make sure you have health insurance. If you are no longer with your parents' health insurance, call the state covered insurance. For me, it was Medi-Cal. At that time, I got assistance for food stamps, which wasn't that much because I was a student and I had no dependents. But they helped me with Medi-Cal, and I got a therapist, so I had my mental health care there. I could get my medications, which is so important, especially in college. So make sure you get on top of medical insurance ASAP. Even an additional dental insurance like Cigna, because Cigna, they cover a lot more than Medi-Cal will. And it's no contract either. You can just pay as you go. So there's no loyalty that needs to be there in order for you to get help. Make sure you have that to take care of yourself. If you do want food stamps, if you disclose to them that you are a student, they will unfortunately make you prove that you work 20 hours a week, which is so weird, because if you're a normal person, just at home, you just want food stamps, you don't work or anything, they'll give it to you. But if you're a student, they want you to also prove that you work. So it's dumb, but that's just the way it is. So health-wise, take care of yourself. Spiritually, take care of yourself. For me, I finally found a path that suits me. So I meditate a lot. I visualize a lot. My desires. I speak more positively about things, and it's really changed my life a lot. Even if it doesn't seem like it has right away, you won't notice it. But being positive and living your life in a healthy way, especially spiritually, that'll be your biggest rock, because if you don't have your head on right, you're gonna watch everything else crumble around you, and then it's gonna be hard to get back up. And that's why you see a lot of people, they'll go to school for a few weeks and then they'll drop out, or they'll go from job to job because they're not setting goals for themselves. They're not taking care of themselves. And that's a big thing if you want to be moved out on your own, is make sure that you are doing things that benefit your soul. I know that sounds so corny, but really it's such a big help. And I'm gonna make a separate video that's totally a whole other topic in itself, but it goes such a long way to set goals and intentions for yourself, and live your life positively instead of distracting yourself all the time with going out and stuff. Now that I've graduated and I've had a baby, I actually moved to Idaho again when I was pregnant with my baby dad, and then we moved back to the Bay Area, and now we're with his family, and it's been a lot better. We're already saving and stuff. I graduated, I have my degree in my pocket now. We both built up our credit together. We stay on top of our stuff. We don't have anything that's going crazy out of control that we're not attending to. We're always prioritizing our life so that we can keep going further. It's been a long process, but all in all, I think anyone could move out. I think anyone can accomplish being on their own if you have the mind for it, if you have the mindset and the energy to go out there and seek help and seek resources. There's so much help out there. There's so many possibilities. put your money first. And there are a lot of ways you can make a lot of money. You know, I'm not gonna disclose all of the options, but just know, if you know, you know. So I would definitely recommend putting yourself first in those like niches in life. On top of that, always investigate things before you make financial moves or like contract deals or something like that. You know, like don't just do something because it sounds good in that moment. Always research first, because anybody can sell you something and make it sound amazing, but really it'll just hurt you in the end. And I'm sure you guys know kind of what I'm talking about. Maybe it's happened to you. An example for me is like I almost got scammed by like a student loan repayment plan. They don't do anything. They just like hide your amount, you know, and then you pay them like fees. But really, anybody can apply for student loan forgiveness. Contact your the person that's in charge of your loan. For me, it's Nailnet, and then you'll ask them how do you apply, when you can apply, and you don't need to pay anybody. So that's just like a side note, but just be aware of scams out there, especially when you're alone and when you're, you know, in need of help. Don't just be quick to grab the first thing that looks nice. Always investigate and research before you make those kind of moves, and I think you will be perfectly fine, like me. I covered pretty much all the important things. I'm sorry if I sound like everywhere. I kind of like was just going freehand. I didn't take any notes this time, so I was kind of like just remembering tips and things that I did as I went on in the video. So hopefully it resonates with you. If you have any questions, please comment. I will comment back like ASAP and clear whatever confusion that you have. If you know my Instagram, you can DM me on Instagram for more private, you know, help. I won't ignore you if you're asking me for help. Basically, I have a lot of free time on my hands because I'm always like basically home with my baby. So yeah, don't be afraid to reach out, and don't be afraid to reach out to people that you also know have moved out on their own and seek advice and help. And I helped you in some way, gave you that hope, that push to make a decision, and I hope that you will be back to watch my other videos soon. Bye.